Hey everyone, welcome to the J. Stephen Phillips podcast. Today my guest will be Jake Phillips. Jake, thanks a lot for coming out. I appreciate you flying all the way out here. I know you got a busy schedule, but I appreciate the conversation we're about to have.
Dude, I'm really excited to have this. I know we're going to cover a lot of ground, and I'm looking forward to this.
Real quick before we start, I want to thank our sponsor, Phillips Solar. They support our show. I don't know exactly what they do or if they do anything at all, but they seem super legit, and we're glad to have them on the team. So today I just want to ask you a few questions. I want to hear the honest answers. I'm kind of curious myself to hear what you have to say. Now here's one of my favorite questions to ask people. It's kind of long, but I feel like it's pretty deep. If you had to go into an unknown random situation, would you rather go with a random stranger or completely alone? So this could be you're going to a party, you're going to a beach vacation, or it could be you're going into a war zone or a political event. You really have no idea what the situation is, and you can either go by yourself or with a complete random stranger. You have no idea if it's John Rambo or your mother. What do you think? Alone or with someone else?
I think I would want to go into that situation alone. Whenever I've dealt with people, the thing that's always on my mind is how can I take care of them? How can I make this easier for them? So I feel like if it's a bad situation, I'd rather be alone because I know what I can take and I know that I can go through it alone, win or lose. But the hardest thing for me would be is if I was with someone else and the situation goes bad and I have to see them suffer. Like, I know I can suffer, and it's like, alright, I'm suffering. Bummer. But if I'm watching someone else suffer and I can or can't fight to make that to make that suffering go away, I feel like that adds a lot to the situation. I'd rather go into a random situation alone because I know I can take care of myself. And if I was with someone else, all my consciousness would go to taking care of them because it would be so much harder to watch them suffer than to actually suffer myself. So I feel like it'd be easier for me to go through any situation alone than it would be to bring someone else with me.
Now, who would you say your hero is?
My hero is, at the moment, it's just people like Elon Musk, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris. It's really people who got their life together. And it's not like they've got their life together in the past 2 years. It's people who, when they were 13 or 14 years old, they kind of made a conscious decision that I'm going to make this life count and I'm going to be careful. I'm going to calculate every move I make and I'm going to keep pursuing this for years to come. It's the people, who made those difficult decisions when they were young. As I said, 13 or 14 years old. They just didn't kind of blow it off until they were 25 or 30 years old, and then they got serious. But no, they were serious from the beginning, and they kept that seriousness and that velocity and that precision, and they kept moving from day one till today. I feel like that's something that many people kind of look down on because everyone's into that Cinderella story that they turned their life around and they used to be this terrible person and now they're someone great. But my heroes are usually the people who, from day one, they're like, this is it. I'm going to put my life together and I'm going to live the best life I can for humanity. I'm going to make the complicated decisions. I'm going to be enemies to the people who I think are wrong, and I'm not going to make any stupid mistakes. I mean, everyone, they're all humans, but they're people who kind of made the sacrifice from day one. They just didn't kind of put it off until later on, but they made the sacrifice day one, and they just pushed through every single day. I mean, those are the people who inspire me.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the worst phase of your life.
The worst phase of my life had to be probably when I was 14, maybe 15 years old. I was kind of known as that obnoxious, loudmouth, pain in the ass kid in my social groups. And when I was about 14, 15, it was made known to me by my brother, who'd let me know, and I was glad he let me know. But then I finally understood what it was like to be that thorn in the side of people, because I was that thorn. I can say it was like 13, 14, 15 years old. I realized that I was just that person that when people saw me or had contact with me, they probably thought, ah, shit, I gotta deal with Jake again. I don't want to deal with this today. And when I was like about 15ish, I realized that's what a good amount of people, not the majority, but too many people probably thought when they ran into me. And I finally realized that, and I was like, I can't be living a life like this, where I'm just the worst part of people's day. And so I made a conscious decision to turn around how I talk to people, how I deal with them, how I make them feel. Because I didn't want to be that person. Because no one needs that in their life. It's probably the worst phase of my life was 13, 14, maybe the beginning of my 15 year of my life. That was the worst. Because I knew what I was doing. And I hated what I was doing. Now let's hear a little bit more about the happiest, or I guess you could say the best phase of your life. So I think the best phase of my life was probably when I finally got a firm foundation in a job, which was Firestone. This is like back in 2017. And I made a decision that I wanted to start road tripping with the van that I bought off my parents for $1,500. So I got that van. Every couple weeks, like once a month, I would get like 3 days off. About 3 days off. And I would leave after work and go on a road trip until the day I had to be back at work. I would literally drive from West Virginia all the way back straight into New Albany, park my car, run out, and go back to work. Like, those are my road trips. Leave after work, road trip until I had to be work 3 or 4 days later. I would sleep in my van. I would road trip all across the country, usually in the Smokies. Anytime that I could, I would bring my dad, my brother. A couple times I brought my mom or my sister. I think that was probably the funnest time of my life. And I knew it, and I really did appreciate it. Because it was so fun driving around with them, listening to music, talking to them about anything I could think of. Yeah, that's probably the highlight of my life. I mean, I know there will be more, but that was one of the funnest times back when I was 19, 20, driving around in my van with the family to these cool places, waterfalls, mountains, sunsets, sunrises. That was probably the highlight of my life this far. Now here's something I try and figure out a lot. What is true honesty? Especially with yourself and other people. This is kind of a complicated question, because I feel like many people are honest with the people around them. I mean, that's what they say. Just because they say something that's unpopular or a little bit iffy, I don't think that's true honesty. It's a complicated question. 'Cause true honesty is that thing you don't want to say. You say it, then everyone hates that you say it. You hate that you say it, but you know it needed to be said. I don't know. It's not like asking for people's pity or asking them if they feel bad for you, or saying things so you can seem more humble. Because I think that's a big problem with people, is they want to appear humble, which you can't do. You can't publicly make yourself appear humble so that you can feel better. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like you would get it. So I feel like true honesty is saying those things that no one wants to hear and you don't want to say. Like saying to people, I'm going to be honest, I hate that I say this, but I think that I'm better than all of you. That's something that I think that's true honesty. Not that it is true, but that is honest. That's how you feel. And people hate that you say that. You don't like that you say that, but you say it because that's how you feel. I feel like that's true honesty.
How are you with friends? Do you have a lot of them?
I don't have a lot of them, like true friends. I have the people that I work with that are probably the closest to me. Well, I mean, my family is the closest to me. Then the people I work with are the closest to me, and then there's another layer of the people I grew up with. They are very close to me because they've known me my whole life. I do have friends, but they're not the typical friends you think of. They're not the people who I talk to every single day, and I can't wait to talk to them. My friends are more the people who I trust, and I know I can lean on, and they know they can lean on me. Some of my friends, we won't talk for over an entire month, but in that entire month, I know they got my back, and they know that I have their back. So that's kind of like a friend. Yeah, it's not someone you talk to every single day, but it's someone you can trust. I mean, really trust with anything. You know, in any situation, they're looking out for you more than they're looking out for themselves. And that's a friend. Yeah, that's a friend.
What type of people do you tend to gravitate towards?
I tend to gravitate towards the people who they're trying. I don't know. You can see an honest effort in what they're doing. I don't go for the people who have kind of got everything situated and everything's fine. I tend to gravitate towards the people who try every option they have, who work really hard, even with no promise, but they're working hard, they're trying. I think those are the people I gravitate towards. The triers, the fighters. The people who have no promise, but they're willing to give everything up to have a shot. Those are usually the people I gravitate towards. Yeah.
When do you think the happiest time of your life was?
So, I've been really blessed with a happy life. I mean, I've been happy way over the majority of it. But I do know one of the happiest time of my life was when I was alone in Keene Valley, New York. I was hiking for about, I think it was a 3-day hiking trip, plus a day driving up and a day driving back. But it was like a 3-day hiking trip, and it was super snowy and icy. I mean, the ice was so slick you couldn't walk hardly without holding onto trees. And at parts the snow was so deep it was past my waist. So we're talking like 4.5, 5 feet deep. I mean, the deepest snow I've ever been in. But I was hiking for one day, and I was hiking from sun up to sundown pretty much. I mean, I covered almost over 16 miles of mountain. But the funnest time was when I accidentally slipped and started sliding down the side of the mountain. And I was so afraid because I thought around the next corner I would just slip off the side of the mountain and I would be gone. But it was so fun because I was just slipping and sliding, and then I caught onto a tree, and I was like, that was really fun, just sliding down the side of the mountain. I mean, I didn't need a sled. I was my own sled. I would just sit down on my butt and let go, and I would just start sliding pretty fast. So I realized how fun that was, and the next couple miles down the side of the mountain, I wasn't even walking. I was just sliding on my butt, holding on to pine trees, slothering between pine trees. And I remember I was laughing out loud, which is something I hardly ever do. But I was laughing out loud, just sliding down the side of this mountain, thinking, wow, this is like the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. And I hope I never forget this moment. I don't think I will, because it was just so epic. It was so beautiful. It was just an incredible moment, sliding down the side of the mountain on my butt. Yeah. That had to be probably the highlight of my life. At least this one.
Is there anyone's life you'd rather have?
So no, I don't think I'd want to have anyone else's life besides mine. Because this is what I was designed for. So there's nothing else that I would want. Or nothing, yeah. There's really nothing else that I'd want.
This is some great stuff, man. But before we get into some deeper stuff, a little theological or a little more thinking, I want to take a break to thank our second sponsor. Health Analytics Alliance. I don't know what they do either, but with a name with an alliance in it, I feel like they're connected to some genocide in Africa or something. It's my dad's company. He doesn't know that I'm doing this, so don't tell him. Yeah, but they sponsor us. So big thanks to them, and let's hear some more questions. Are you where you belong in life?
Yeah, I think I'm where I belong. There's not many moves I can do that are more risky and more complicated than what I'm doing. Right now, everything I'm doing is as complicated and as risky as I can get. So it's like there's not many more problems in this equation that can be solved. It's kind of like every day I wake up and I decide this is the most complicated problem I can solve, so I try and solve it as fast and as proficient and as right as I can. And if I can't, I try and solve it the next day. So yeah, this is where I think I belong.
Now, what's on your mind the most?
What's probably on my mind the most is, am I doing the best possible thing for myself and everyone around me at this moment? I think, is this what everyone else needs me to be doing? I think, is this what I need to be doing every moment? Yeah, that sounds self-righteous, and that's what keeps me up until 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. Is this what we need me to be doing now? That's usually what's on my mind. And it usually has to do with electronics or documentation or reading, or just being moral support to people. Asking them how their day is, or asking if there's anything I could do to help them. That's usually what's on my mind.
So, Jake, what do you want out of your life to make it worthwhile? To make it worth your existence here on Earth?
To make it worth my existence, I feel like I have to change something. I feel like so many people live their lives and then they die, and then people are like, that was interesting. As where I feel like I need to live my life, and then when I die, people are like, we lost one of the good ones, and we can see how we changed our lives, and it's gonna be a foundation that lasts the next couple years, couple 10 years, couple 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. But it's just not something that entertained their time, but something that built a foundation, that supported something, that changed something, that made them think a different way. So I feel like to make this experience worth my life, I need a set of foundation, a standard, something that people can look up to and be like, if only I can do what he did, then this would be a good life.
Here's something a little on the heavier side. What do you hate most about yourself?
I really hate that I think that I connect with people, but in reality I don't. I feel like many people view me as something that's odd and doesn't count and should be put away in a box. But while I'm talking and while I'm dealing with people, I think I'm doing a really good job at talking to them, as in reality I'm not. I'm just kind of that weird situation they're trying to get out of. That's what I wish I could change. I wish I could be something, I don't know, a conversation that like they think about for a day or two at least. But I feel like now I'm just kind of, they run into me and they're like, oh geez, let's hurry up and get past this. He's kind of weird. Let's move on to something else. And I feel like that's the part of me I wish I could change. And I could figure out how I can talk to people on a deeper, more complex level, if that makes any sense.
Now, what do you think God is like? Do you think you'll ever meet him?
I actually think that God is like a human. Yeah, I think that God is a lot like a human. He lusts after things. He wishes for things. He has higher expectations that will actually happen. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but that's just how it is. Because I think that if he was perfect, he wouldn't care for us. He wouldn't really want us. He wouldn't have a need to make us. But because he is imperfect, he needs humans. He needs humans to worship him, to understand him. He needs to create them. So I think God is just like you. He's just like me. He's just like one of us. He's just in charge. And I don't mean to sound blasphemous, but kind of more as a respect. I do respect him, so I think that's how he is. He's one of us. Not that he's one of us, but he's like us, and I can appreciate him for that. Yeah, so I think God's like us.
Now, Jake, in your honest heart of hearts, what do you think will happen to your mind, or you could say your soul, after you die?
Now, for a while, I thought that you would go into the nothingness you came from. And that is what about 95% of me thinks. You came from nothing, like, before you were born, and that's where you'll go. And just to a quiet nothingness. Which scares a lot of people. A lot of people are like, I don't think I could handle nothingness for the rest of eternity. But I think you can, because we already did. We already lived for an eternity in nothingness. So doing it again really won't be that scary, because it doesn't have any effects on us now. We don't have any flashbacks or night terrors about how it was before we were born. So that's why I think it happens after we die. But what I would like for it to happen after we die is we get reincarnated. Because energy can't be created or destroyed. And I think our mind is kind of like complex energy. It'd be awesome if we kind of get reused or recycled, reincarnation. But I don't honestly think that is going to happen. It'd be awesome if it did, but I'm not placing any bets on that.
Were we created by something intelligent?
Yes, I do think we were created by something intelligent. Not something out of this world intelligent, but like the smartest physicist. Well, yeah, so yes, I do think we were created by something intelligent, but not an infinite intelligence, but just a good intelligence. I mean, something really smart. Yeah, we were created by intelligence, just like we create intelligence. Because intelligence isn't perfection. Intelligence is solving difficult problems with difficult answers. So yeah, I think we're created by something of intelligence. Not perfection, but something of true intelligence.
Is there any fact or experience that could change your mind on what you believe in?
Yes. This is probably the easiest answer I will answer tonight. Yes. Just about anything will change my mind about just about anything. I'm kind of like a ship lost at sea. I have no ground, no anchor. So whatever makes the most sense, I feel like will change my mind. Which is kind of scary, but then it's kind of also freeing in a way. I feel like I'm open to whatever I feel like is most true. So yeah, really anything could change my mind. Anything good, anything bad. Not that that's how I want it, but that's how it is. Because I'm a pretty ignorant person. So, yeah.
Wow. It's fascinating stuff, man. I'm glad we're able to talk through this, get this recorded, and get it out to our listeners. So right now I got some questions from our listeners and followers, and let's answer them. So this is one from Abe. He says, "Where are you going in life?" Abe, that's a good question. I don't know where I'm going, but I just hope that it's something epic and legendary. I hope it's scary. I hope it's nervous. This is my one life, so I hope I'm going someplace that's on the edge. The next question comes from Devin, who's been a fan of mine for a while now. He asks, "Do you love this? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous?" I'm really sure that's a Drake quote or lyric from one of his rap songs. But to answer your question, Devin, I do love this. I'm not high right now, and I do get nervous a lot. I'd say that just about before I do anything, I'm pretty nervous, but it's a good feeling. The next question is from a Miss Aubrey. She asks, "What is one thing that makes you, you?" Well, I think my creativity makes me me. That's something that I love to experiment with through my whole life, and I love sharing it with people, getting it out there into the open. That's one of my favorite things to do, create and get it out there. I think that's pretty fun, and I think that's what makes me me. Now, one of our longtime listeners, Christian, asks, "Do fries come with that shake?" I appreciate the enthusiasm, and I love the questions, man. Keep them rolling. But I don't know if he understands how this works. So we'll try again next time, man. We'll do this again. Now, our last question. This is a good one. This comes from Annabelle, and it's a question I really like, but I'm not going to answer it. So here's the question: what is your deepest regret? I feel like that's a great question. It's phenomenal to ask yourself and really take it seriously and think about it. What is your deepest regret? And if you could really pinpoint that. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint because we have a lot. And I think something like that is not something you should share lightly, or it's nothing that the general public's entitled to. I don't know if there is anyone you should share your deepest regret to. But that is a phenomenal question to ask yourself, and really take it seriously and really think about it. Yeah. Alright, that concludes our show. Jake Phillips, thanks so much for coming out. I can't wait to interview you again. Hopefully we can do this sometime soon. That is it. This is the first episode of the J. Stephen Phillips podcast, everyone. Psyched.